All right, guys, Mr. Jenkins here for lesson 3 of chapter 3. So just, if you're scoring at home, that's 3 lessons in 3 days. So make sure that you are keeping up on those assignments as you're finishing up your project for chapter 2. So kind of juggling a couple things at once here. For that reason, I'm going to try to go pretty quickly on today's lesson. There's just one kind of extra idea that we need to remember from this lesson that was not in the last lesson. So I'm going to spend a lot less time on the intricacies of inequalities because I've already kind of covered that stuff. Your key statement is that after this lesson, you should be able to use multiplication or division to solve one-step inequalities. All right. So we'll get right into the examples. Example 1. A over 3, or A divided by 3 is less than -2. So how do we get rid of divided by 3? We want to multiply both sides by 3. The less and less you have to show this stuff, the better you are. So we're kind of moving away from that at this point. So that would give you A is less than -6. All right, so that's the solved inequality. This is the graph. I'll show you a little graphing, a little interval notation since I'm talking about both. So these are the kind of parts of the number line I would want to see. Less than is going to be open circle, shade to the left. All right, next one, divide both sides by 4.5. Sometimes I take a shortcut and just put one big old division bar. That's not technically correct, but it saves me a little bit of writing. So that's going to give me B is greater than or equal to whatever 75 over 4.5 is. That's 16.6 repeating. So this is one where Math Excel probably would not accept that answer. So you probably have to use the button on your calculator that says something like this. F to D, D to F, and that would change it to 16 2/3. That would give you an answer you could enter into Math Excel. Okay. Or it might give you an improper fraction, and that's fine too. All right, so that's what that looks like. Interval notation for that one would look like this. So if we're going greater than that, this would be my low boundary, and it is included, so it'd be bracket 16 2/3, and then everything greater than that, so heading toward infinity. All right, do a couple more, and then I'll leave the last couple for you. Next one is a little more interesting because you have a fraction, but this shouldn't be a problem. You should just be able to look at that and know I need to multiply both sides by 8. And in my calculator, I can multiply 1/4 times 8. It's really that simple. All right, so when I multiply both sides by 8, I get C is greater than 1/4 times 8. I know just by using mental math, that's equal to 8 over 4, which is equal to 2. Okay. So that's the solved inequality. The graph of that looks like this. Greater than is going to be open circle, shade to the right. And that is my phone ringing, so try to just ignore that. I will get to that person later. And actually, I'll leave those next 3 for you. All right, so moving on to this. This is the big example that you have to remember, okay? Don't forget these. Okay, this is an easy way to kind of miss questions, right? So using the multiplication and division properties with negatives, right? We had some negatives over there. Or sorry, up there on our last examples, like I did A and didn't say anything about it. So this is just specifically when there's a negative involved with the variable. When your variable is multiplied by a negative, or it is, let's see, well, there's no, when it's divided by a negative. Okay, so either one of those. All right, so looking at A, the fundamentals remain the same. you want to either do 3 divided by -3/4 or times the reciprocal. I'll write it out that way. So I'm going to multiply both sides by -4/3. Without a calculator, that's just easier for me to do. So that's going to give me A is. So what happens? You guys probably remember. You flip your inequality symbol. Okay. A is less than or equal to, and if you don't do that, then you're going to have the opposite of the right answer. Whatever 3 times -4/3 is. So that is going to be -4. All right, and then you can always test them to make sure, right? So numbers that are less than -4, like -5, and so on and so forth, should all give you a true statement if you sub in right there. If I plug in -4, I should get a true statement. If I sub in -5, true statement. If I sub in -3, I should get a false. Right? So to save you some time, I'm not going to show all that. Plus, I don't have a calculator pulled up. But you have got to remember to flip that inequality symbol. I know you've heard that before. All right, next one, dividing both sides by -9. As soon as I divide or multiply by a negative, my first thought is I'm going to flip that inequality symbol so I don't forget, and then I'll hash out the rest. On the left side, I just get B by itself. On the right side, I get, 63 over 9 is 7. So 63 over -9 is -7. All right, so it's kind of that simple. So using interval notation here to change it up would be bracket -7, and then greater than, we're heading toward positive infinity. All right, so I'm going to save a few of these for you, but I did want to talk about D, okay? So some people get confused about D. So I think it's important to understand here that, it doesn't really matter where the negative sign is. So you could think of that one as, it could be written as -D over +7. It could be written as +D over -7. So it doesn't really matter where the negative is. If it's to the left of the entire fraction, if it's kind of looks like it's attached to D, if it looks like it's attached to -7. It just matters how many negatives that there are. Okay, that's what matters. Anyways, so that just tells you then, if you kind of think about it this way, that what I need to do to solve this is multiply both sides by -7. Okay, as soon as I do that, kind of get this stuff out of the way for you, I'm going to flip my inequality symbol to be less than or equal to, and then I get D over here and -21 over here. Okay, so don't let those confuse you. Just count the number of negatives, right? If it was like -D over -7, then that would matter. That would be positive D over 7. Okay, so hopefully that eliminates some confusion. And then C, E, and F are all worked out on your filled out notes. I suggest you try them and then check them. That's good extra practice for you. All right, so I will do, let me leave you B. B is a little bit tougher, so I think I'll leave that one as a challenge problem for you to try on your own and then check it, okay? So a student club plans to buy food for a soup kitchen. A case of veggies costs $10.68. So another way to say that, it's $10.68 per case. The club can spend at most $50 for this project. What are the possible numbers of cases they can buy? All right, so the first thing we want to do in any word problem is we want to define our variable, right? So what are they asking me to find? Number of cases. So let's let C be number of cases. All right, once I know that, then I know it's $10.68 per number of cases. So I'm going to do $10.68C. That's my expression for however many for cost for however many C's I buy, which is cases. And then it says can spend at most $50. at most, right? So at most would mean less than or equal to. So less than or equal to 50. Then we just divide both sides by 1068, which I don't think is a really pretty number. So it's about 4.7. When you divide there, C is less than or equal to about 4.7. But we have to think about that, right? So do we just round that to 5? We know we can't buy part of a case, right? So now the question becomes, can I buy, it's closer to 5, so could I buy 5? Well, the answer to that would be no, because 1068 times 5 would be more than 50. So in this case, we have to go, you know, to the whole number that's underneath it, right? I could buy 4 cases, but I can't buy 5. And then you also can't buy less than 0. So the formal answer here would be we could buy anywhere from 0 to 4 cases. And just kind of previewing, you don't really need to know or understand what I'm writing down now, but this will be kind of in a lesson coming up. Formally written as an inequality, that would look like this. 0 is less than or equal to C is less than or equal to 4. Like I said, you don't really need to understand this. We'll get into it later. That's what's called an AND inequality, but that's just kind of a preview. Your assignment for this is Math Excel, okay? It is an ed puzzle, just so I can verify if you watched the video early. That's all I got. Let me know if you have questions, and guys, do not fall behind because these lessons are coming kind of one right after the other. All right, as always, hopefully this video was helpful, and you guys have a nice day. Thanks.